So today I want to write about certainly one of my more passionate topics, and that is the power of the mind and how much the mind matters. And this is where it all begins for every entrepreneur, in the mind. In fact, you don't have if you don't have the right mindset, the chances of you really achieving anything in the way of business is really slim and none. And I think slim just left town. So the real way to get that growth in your business, the real way to build a company is to realize that you are the foundation. You personally are the foundation of what you're going to try to build as a great skyscraper. In other words, if you're going to put a big building on top of a foundation, that foundation better be strong. So what's your self-image? How you see yourself, how you project yourself, how you think is critical to building that foundation. So as a breed, if you like, entrepreneurs are brilliant and creative people, and in many cases they know the next stages. Like they know, especially that startup level, you know what you need to do, but oftentimes something gets in the way, and that block is inside of them. So what I experienced a lot and still do with a lot of my clients is fear-based thinking. And I think that the more experienced an entrepreneur becomes, the less of fear-based thinking, the less it has over you, and the less pervasive it is. But it's something that can come back to haunt you if you don't keep an eye on it. So when I talk to people about being an entrepreneur, I like to start with, what is the definition of an entrepreneur? Like, what makes an entrepreneur very different than any other type of person on the planet? And here's my definition. It's not the conventional definition, but it's my definition of an entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is a person who, with a vision, who orchestrates the time, the talent, and the resources of other people to make their vision real. Now, there isn't a word in there that's there by accident. So without a vision, you're not going to produce much of anything. Who's going to get behind you unless you can have a vision and project it well to other people? And then if you're thinking that as an entrepreneur you're an investor in your business, this is wrong. You don't have enough money to build your business, so you have to leverage the resources of other people. You have to get other people to back you, and then you can build something of a significance. So an entrepreneur is a person with a vision who orchestrates the time, talent, and resources of other people to make their vision real, which also means you do not work in your business. So you don't work in your business, you work on your business. And that is the key mind shift for most people. Most people are slaves to their business. They roll up their sleeves. They're going to build that company. And they're in there working and sweating and putting in time away from their families. It's kind of crazy. And then they wonder why it doesn't grow. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to know what you are, and a little crazy is okay. So be careful, because it's a bit of a trap. Like, you get onto this hamster wheel of non-productive activity. Like, you could do it now. You start listing all the things you are doing, and then start listing what your employees are doing, and then ask yourself, is it the highest and best use of your time? Like, are you in control of this stuff? It's this controlling attitude that no one else can do things as well as you can, or they're not going to do it right, and I'm going to have to recover if they don't do it right. It's that kind of thinking that can be toxic. I mean, this is a definite fact. Like, here that it holds people back in being an entrepreneur. In fact, like the most successful entrepreneurs I know, other than some peculiar aspects of their business, which they're really excellent at, the most successful entrepreneurs I know, if you talk to them, they'll tell you something like, oh, well, I don't know how to do that. Like, I can't do this. If I didn't have, I don't know, like Betsy to help me with that, I'd be an idiot. So I'm telling you that the most successful people I know, they do that because what they learn to do is delegate to everybody else everything that needs to get done. And those people, guess what? They screw it up a little sometimes in the beginning, and then they get a little better at it, and then the next thing you know, with a little training and a little organization and some structuring that goes into your business, all of a sudden these people start to perform at a high level, and eventually they perform at a higher level than what you could do. So if you got the right person in the right spot, you'll love what they're doing and they'll be passionate about it. And if you manage them in an appropriate way, and we're going to be talking lots more about this in other weeks, you're going to find that those people are highly productive and making that transition to where you can leverage yourself through other people's time, talent, resources, and that's what being an entrepreneur is all about. So you want to do a little bit of mind shifting and start thinking of yourself as the doer in their business. Like being the doer, you need to do that to get it up and running. But once it's running, you have to start switching that mindset to where you're the person who orchestrates all the people to get it done. So the key idea here is how you use control. How do you use control to your advantage in your business? And finally, surrounding yourself with people who are more knowledgeable than you are in key areas. I mean, this isn't easy for most entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning. They want to just hang on to their control. So after an acquisition, like, how does a business actually bring that in and start creating that system? So, I mean, there is a old-fashioned way, which is you earn your way to it. Now, the way most entrepreneurs earn it is they roll up their sleeves and they are doers. And when they enter a business, and this might seem like a startup venture, you're a doer and you get in there and you do it, you're self-motivated. And if you're bootstrapping, meaning you don't have your parents maybe putting up a lot of money for you, and sisters trade up their leases for cash, and in so doing, you maybe don't have a lot of money to work with. So at some point, you do roll up your sleeves, you do the work, you get your needs, your costs, you accumulate some money, and then you make that big step, and then you hire the first person. Now, that's the time-honored way that it's done by most people, and it's tough. It's not an easy process, okay? So if you're bootstrapping, that's the way you have to do it. If you save some money and you've got some capital that you've accumulated, then at some point it's a plan. In other words, you plan to bring in that person when you get to a certain size, but you have to look to bring in people who are really going to be confident to get the work done. So here's something to think about. There are certain personality traits that lend themselves to being an entrepreneur, and if you recognize any of these traits in yourself, and these traits will serve you well if you happen to have them, because every entrepreneur I know has a very high level of passion for their product or service or field. And think about this: if you're going to work 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week to get your business up and running, and then if you're going to seek to be a really strong competitor in that field, and if you love what you do and you're passionate about it, then it makes all the difference in the world automatically in your mindset, because you don't work, you're kind of really enjoying what you're doing, and you have a sense of energy that drives you forward when you're coming from that place. So most entrepreneurs I know are people who make decisions quickly and tend to make them on fact and logic. So when you find yourself making decisions that are emotional and then you use fact and logic to justify them later, you're probably heading down a wrong path. I mean, take a look at your ability to make those decisions quickly and to base them on the facts and realities of your situation. Another thing is, entrepreneurs that I know that are successful are able to work in an unsettled environment where the ground shifts constantly. If you need a stable environment, if you can't work unless everything is in order, being an entrepreneur will really test you, because it's just not the way that businesses tend to work. Entrepreneurs generally have a they have a dislike for details in favor of pursuit of the big picture. Most of the entrepreneurs I know, so they love that big picture, and sometimes they drop the ball on details. So they want freedom. So entrepreneurs want freedom from details. In other words, they tend not to sweat the small stuff. And let me think. Another area here is entrepreneurs tend to be orientated, okay, to push sales growth, with less emphasis on enabling, say, systems and cost savings. Now, why is this a critical factor if you're going to be an entrepreneur? Well, one reason is that in order to sell right, you have to buy right. So in other words, you can't be paying high costs for the things that you do and then be competitive in your sales. So whilst entrepreneurs tend to focus on sales, the really successful ones realize that control of costs enables the organization to keep on living. So all those things are important, as sales cause without sales and then keeping control of costs, well, one can't exist without the other. So entrepreneurs, the successful ones, are bottom line orientated, okay, bottom line action results orientated. So in other words, they bottom line things very quickly. They take action easily, and they're constantly driving for results. They're not interested in good activity. They want results, and they don't mind being wrong. They learn to pivot and pivot easily and quickly. You know, like, okay, I was wrong. Change, new direction, next. So they always seek to measure their progress by results, and invariably they lack patience. They want it done yesterday, and their favorite statement is, do it my way, and do it now. So that's entrepreneurs in a nutshell.